Hey everyone, this is the LEGO NEXO Knights Knighton Castle set, and in addition to coming with a sizable selection of figures to play with, it has a structure that is much more generous in size than I think it appears on camera, at least from this angle. You see, there's actually a courtyard in here that has enough space to play with figures within it, and they have a little bit of a transformative feature that's more useful than the usual ones, I think, in that you can open all this up to the sides diagonally to get you even more useful space that you can really access easily from one side, and also gives you room to roll figures in and out, and enough room even for fairly large mechs. Much of the time, LEGO castles and other large structures, if they're going to open up, will open up around the back so that they're able to kind of maintain the largest and most detailed surface on the front to make it look as impressive as possible. And then around the back, where you're actually doing most of your play, where most of the space really is, that tends to be smaller and just using the shorter walls. Here they've kind of inverted that. So for most of your play, you get to take advantage of just the nice appearance of all of the special details, the better looking details, and you get kind of the majesty of the height of the center spire that you get to see all the time. The turrets are facing forward. Most of the details are facing forward, but this is where you're going to be spending your time, and I think that's a good thing. I think this works out pretty nicely, and I think that the level of detail is good. Of course, if you want to keep the whole thing closed up and more rectangular and regular, you can, but you can still access the inside in more of a minifig realistic way by just opening up the main doors, and you get the kind of lion head details around the sides here, so those look pretty good. And the whole thing, I think, just presents a good face to the front of the world. At each forward corner, you have a crossbow in placement, and those use the stud shooter parts that will actually fire out. The king's throne right now does not have the king sitting at it, because the king himself has an older style of cape, which would crinkle up if you actually placed him in the seat. The seat itself looks nice, even though it's not particularly fancy in its build, not too many pieces, but it is unfortunate that it really doesn't accommodate a king or a figure just in general with a cape piece without doing damage to that cape or taking it off. So there's the other crossbow in placement, but I also want to show you another kind of an action feature that they have built into this, which will only work if you've opened the thing up. So I'm going to open it. There's just a latch in the front that kind of unlocks the two parts, the two sides, which then completely hinge apart. So they've got just a button on the other side, on the outside over here, this red button that you use to launch out this vehicle, which doesn't have a name in this. It's just a vehicle for Robin to use, but you push on that and this comes rolling out at a pretty nice rate of speed. And we'll look at this more closely a little later on. Now the sides of this castle, I think, have a good amount of detail that almost matches the front. However, when you turn it around to the back, I don't like the upper part. See, all this here is just showing you the undersides of some plates, and it looks very plain to me. Oh, the puns. The puns. See, this is a plane. The whole thing comes off. The plane, boss. The plane. Actually, they call it the Rumble Rocket, but it's effectively a plane. It's a flying thing. That's actually a pretty clever integration. If only it looked a little bit better on its underside. This is supposed to be used, I believe, kind of as a last resort thing, so it's not supposed to be too high in performance. You know, it's not supposed to be too agile, though I'm sure in the show it actually will end up being so. But this carries a bunch of figures, so they've got this nice construction on the side to allow you to open up the canopy from either side like that, but then the entire roof opens up as well, all of that, and this will hold a bunch of figures inside, so that's nice. You can definitely use it for an emergency evacuation if you need to, or just to get a large team from point A to point B, and it also has storage in the back, so you can put some accessories or maybe some stud pieces or something for ammunition, although this does not have anything on it that will actually shoot. I think that is a miss. I mean, it's not supposed to be a fighter or anything, but if you're going to include a rocket, a plane, or something in a fighting related theme, might as well let it shoot something. So I'm just gonna put that back there for the time being, since it does really add to the look of the whole castle. And then, you know, they have a decently generous balcony section, so there's plenty of space to actually pose figures along there. Some of the Lego castles have really not had enough space, or they've had just a single stud of thickness of plate there, and it just makes it difficult, especially if you have any weapons. I mean, this guy has all of his weapons on and he's still able to stand there. That's actually unusually good. Now, these turret sections can alternately be used as small holding cells or prison cells, because you could kind of consider this to be a door if you want to, or they could just be, I don't know, storage rooms or something. You can use these as weapons here, but they just look as a nice decoration, and you get another space up on the top where you can actually still fit figures, but it becomes a little bit more difficult if they have accessories on. So that guy's actually not on the ground right now, just because of his large, well, actually both his weapon and his shield are getting in the way, but I can kind of make him pass by. You know, a little bit of restriction in the ability to use that space, but you can certainly take down the banners at least to recover some of that space back. So getting down to the interior of the structure, this is the royal dining room here, I'm presuming, and there's a statue inside there, which I'll actually show you more closely with the figures. But, you know, this is a nice small space, a little bit of walkway that's almost continuous, but becomes more continuous if you actually fold the whole thing together. You know, when you open it up from the front, then this becomes a continuous walkway. There's I almost said the Emperor's throne, the King's throne. This is an armory, and they've got a little bit of armor there in gunmetal gray for Robin to use if he wants, and some alternate weapons to be used by anybody. I personally would recommend placing this weapon rack just one stud back to give you even more room to pose your figures along the front of this. And then down below they've got the bunks, so one for each of the main knights here. They've also got one for Ava. That's the control room in there, which is a little bit tough to see. Nah, it's actually a lot tough to see, but that's that printed handheld gaming console piece on the left and just a keyboard on the right, and the NEXO power projector or transmitter there is in the back. And then this just continues with the barracks area, so you have bedding for the rest of the knights as well as Robin. Speaking of Robin, here is his vehicle, which is kind of basic, but it looks kind of cool to me. You got a little bit of the black color in there to let you know who it's intended for. Just a couple of stickers used on this one, one on either side. This does have a stud shooter on either side as well, and a little bit of storage on the back of it, so you can place additional studs back there if you want. This rolls very nicely, very easily. The entire canopy opens up easily. You've got a couple of printed pieces on the sides. It's open on the underside, unfortunately. I don't like that hollow space there, but this was specifically designed for a short figure like Robin, who does need to stand up in there. And I'm glad that they accommodated that properly, so he's actually able to be attached with studs, and he's at the right height. Murloc 2.0 gets uploaded into a mech, turning him into Mechlock. And that's not my pun, that's theirs. They actually call this Mechlock, and this is pretty well articulated. It has quite a lot of those Mixel style ball joints on there. Just a couple of stickers, one used on either shoulder. This is a new color for the ingot piece here in orange, so a couple of those. The face is actually printed. It's very flat though, very, very flat. I wish there was some sort of depth around it, maybe something just, you know, it's supposed to be a screen, of course, but I think that they could have either set that out a little bit to make it a little bit more obvious that it's its own thing, or maybe inset it a bit, but no, those are just design choices. Got a single trans neon reddish orange piece for the hat, just for the brim of it, and a bunch of other pieces that are in that transparent color all the way around. He's got his staff, which attaches very securely into the hand with the use of kind of a cheater piece, which is smart because it makes it just very secure, so you don't have to worry about the grip of these fingers actually holding it in. The fingers look pretty good, and like I said, the articulation is really good. I mean, he can move around quite a lot, raise the hand up as much as he wants. Forward to back articulation, unfortunately, for the legs is a little bit limited, but I feel like you can get around that by just kind of shimmying him from side to side. Like this looks like he has just taken a step forward when in fact the legs are just kind of splayed. So just kind of turn him to the side, I think, is a workaround for that. I personally definitely would have preferred the ability to move the upper legs just forward and back normally, but it's just not there. So you can splay the legs out a lot. And there's plenty of friction in these joints as usual. I just tried to push it a little bit farther than it's supposed to go to the front, but you know, you can easily pose a figure like this on a single leg, if you will, leg style platform. So I think it actually works out. It's not perfect, but it's interesting. I think it's pretty cool overall. And you've got an attachment point right here so you can hook them up to other things. The big thing on the bad guy side here is just another rolling prison, and this one is fully animated itself, so it doesn't need to be pulled along by any sort of other monsters. It also is able to hold on to the forbidden power there, which either it could steal or perhaps it's being powered by temporarily. It has a lot of articulation itself for what it is, with the arms being able to move around on their ball joints, and it also has the fingers that can be open and closed. Got the electricity coming out from each fingertip, not including the thumbs. A couple of catapults back here that can be used with cylinder pieces, and they give you a couple stacks of light blue colored cylinder pieces, so you can put one in there at a time. This opens up from the back to get access in there, but I think that's mostly just for getting things out, because for getting things in, they'll probably end up just going through the mouth. I like what they did here with the mouth, with the two different types of tooth pieces that were used together. Could also be used as claws, but just well chosen, and he has a single printed piece there on the front. Looking at the figures, here are King Halbert on the left, followed by a King's Guard, unnamed, followed by Robin, and then Fancy Pants, the bot. Got a little bit of stuff to remove here. Fancy Pants does have a printed tile piece that's exclusive as of now, that's used on the front of him, and he also has, I believe, so far, a exclusive hairpiece with the purple bow print on it in particular. Still no alternate face for the king. That's a little bit of a surprise. A great second face for the King's Guard there. I also really like the print on the torso of that one. Front and back, no alternate face for Aaron, but you do get one for Fancy Pants, which is pretty expressive and works for that character. And here's the main face of the king, who uses that very bright orange color for his facial hair, the part that's not actually attached separately, which is in dark orange. And this gives you a more clear look at all of the prints from the front with the unobstructed views of the torsos and the faces. Here are your Year 2 Lance and Aaron figures with lots of stuff completely obscuring what the prints look like, but this is how they're supposed to look, completely all armored up and battle ready. Slightly different designs for the weapons here, with a new lance for Lance. Looks like it has a rocket on the end of it, and just, I don't think they've used exactly that design for the bow for Aaron. I think it's actually supposed to be used as a bow here in this form, the way that they've shown it posed, but you could still use it as a crossbow if you want to. And as usual, I need to take some stuff off of these so that you can see the rest of what's on the figures. There we go. That definitely does the trick. So you get to see the alternate faces and the full torso prints on the backs of them, and you get to see the full regular faces and the torso prints on the front, which continue down pretty well, pretty consistently through the hip prints. Not quite as good for Aaron, definitely better for Lance here, I think. And that just continues with the overall design that's supposed to flow through right into the legs. On the bad guy side, we get two stone stompers with completely different prints for their torsos, their hips, and their legs, but the same faces, which I'm fine with. They also have the same helmet pieces. So much better to get them with a helmet than absolutely nothing, as we've gotten them in a couple sets before. The one on the far left has a little bit of extra armor, and each one has a basic weapon. On the far right is the white stone statue. It does not get a name officially in this set. It's supposed to be under the control of Monstrux, presented as just a white marble statue to the kingdom of Knighton and has an alternate face because it kind of follows the weeping angel trope a little bit. When you're not looking at her, she will turn evil. Well, she will come to life more. You know, she will stop just pretending to be a statue and could actually execute an assassination, or at least scare somebody, get them to run past security in a panic or something so that they can be captured. There's a better look at the alternate faces that are identical between the two stone stompers. Those are good. I appreciate the contrast in shape between these two bricksters. Each one comes with a weapon. I really wanted to like the one on the left the most, but I don't like the gray parts of it. I think the gray works fine with this color scheme, but the guy on the right has the gray as well, and he also has extra purple on the back. But I think that the one on the left maybe just needed some texture. You know, could have used those textured round bricks or something, because it just ends up looking a little bit plain, kind of like the living part of him, or the animated part of him, is just the purple part, the sand blue part actually, that's kind of sticking through, and the rest of it is just kind of parts of a barrel. Last but not least, here is Hamletta, Lance's beloved pet pig, and she has eyelashes, and that's about it. Looks, I'd say, a lot more cutesy in this official physical form than actually in the cartoon itself. The included NEXO powers are Drop the Beat, Spirit Fox, Manic Pumpkin, this is Centaur Charge, and there is Gamma Rays. The one included Forbidden power is Malicious Melting. They also include a single Year 2 combo NEXO power plate. Overall, a pretty good set, I would say, for what it is. Again, a very generous number of figures and plenty of space in and around the thing to play with them. A little bit limited as usual on space to put things just around the edges. In some of the spots actually work out pretty well, but I think better than they usually do overall. And I think they've done a good job of capturing the scene and giving you a large looking thing that has some substance to it, especially given the number of pieces and the price constraint that they had for a budget. But that's it for my look at the NEXO Knights Knighton Castle, and I have many more sets to review for you, as well as custom stuff to work on, so stay tuned, and I'll be talking to you again very soon.